So I just invite you to take a moment. Allow yourself to get settled into your chair. Gently close your eyes if it's comfortable. As Jesus, our way shower and master teacher, invited us to close the door to the outer world and to find respite in the sanctuary of our heart. And as we come together in community to acknowledge the infinite, invisible presence that breathes each and every one of us and breathed us into existence, in this moment, come to know that power for yourself. With each breath, allow yourself to be drawn deeper into an awareness of the power and the presence of love right here in the midst of where we are. Even in the face of a fact and a condition that seems to be at odds in this outer world, we together as a community stand for the presence of love, knowing that love always prevails. So know that, feel it, hear it. And in this place of deep communion, let's take a moment and inventory your life. Take a moment and just look for the evidence of how God shows up for you. And so I just invite you just to scan your life up until this point and let your accomplishments, your successes, the things that you've done well come to mind right now. The challenges overcome, the seemingly impossible feats that you took a stand for and you said, I'm doing this. The kids raised, the relationships healed, the choices that you made for love, even in the face of facts and conditions that would have tempted somebody less aware and less connected. Hear the words of Spirit as you're seeing those images cross the movie screen of your mind. Say, well done, good and faithful son and daughter. Now, take a moment and allow yourself to once again take stock of the many blessings that you've received and experienced just because you're here. Just because God so loved the world that God breathed you into being. And with that creation, the promise of everything that you need for a rich, fulfilling life that bears witness to the power and the glory that breathed you. And so let's just take a moment and tangibly acknowledge that with your strengths, your capabilities, that you put in service to something deeply meaningful for you, that you brought into the physical facts of your world through your accomplishments, through your successes. And acknowledging the gifts and the blessings that you've allowed yourself to experience just because you're here. And let's just kind of snuggle down and squish into that delightful feeling, that delightful awareness of this infinite intelligence, this infinite presence of love at work in your life. I see the smiles crossing your faces, if you could see the way that I see you from this view. And once again, well done, good and faithful daughter. Well done, good and faithful son. Hear Spirit say, thank you for taking the gifts that I have given you. Thank you for you taking them and serving them in truly mighty ways as you have brought your good, your gift, your present to the body of humanity in a time when it is especially needed. And so let's just take a moment and really allow that awareness, that deliciousness to just settle into every cell of your being and hear the delight of spirit so celebrating you. I am the divine expression of all the goodness of God. I am the way that God demonstrates and makes love known. As I say yes to an even greater version of myself, saying yes to that bold idea that is seeking expression by means of me, I use my life, my gifts, my capabilities as the vehicle through which God is known even greater, bringing light to every dark place on this planet and bearing witness to the power and the glory that breathed each one of us into existence. I am the divine expression of spirit. And so we just say thank you. Thank you, God, for life, for this awareness, for our capability of truly bringing love to every corner through our own unique individual expression, and for our ability to say yes in even greater and greater degrees. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And in the name and of the nature of the living Christ, and Jesus Christ, our way shower and elder brother, we say thank you, sweet Spirit. And so it is. Amen. Good morning. I just want to stand up here for a moment and just drink in your deliciousness. You are an incredible group of people. It was fun at the 9 o'clock. It was more of an intimate experience, and I invited a couple people to share some of the images that they saw as they were reflecting on their successes and accomplishments. And somebody shared how they received their college degree when they were 50 years old. Somebody else shared how they were awarded the Founders Award out of 500 potential real estate agents. One of the things that was not spoken this morning that I want to present here is you all see these images of just how magnificent you really are, and the level of success that you all individually and collectively have achieved for yourselves, is to really acknowledge you as a spiritual community. That Unity of Dallas, you all rock. You rock. You've done an amazing work of taking everything that's happened over the last couple of years and leaned into it and allow it to inform you about what works, who you were in the past as you celebrated that, and now who is it that you are becoming that is the match for what not only Dallas but our world needs in order for people to really wake up to their spiritual magnificence. Our movement is in good hands. And here's the other reason why I know that you've done such a phenomenal job. You all attracted James. You could not have brought this level of consciousness into your environment if you were not vibrating at that same level of awareness. Now, here's the thing. You're just getting started. And what's so fun, and we're going to dig into this deeper this afternoon on an individual level, but now as a community, you are being invited into an even greater version of yourself, which is going to invite you to grow into that new level of awareness and identity. So you are now becoming a match for that new, big, bold dream that you as a community are dreaming up. So it is my joy to be here with you today. So let's switch gears here a little bit as we've been, just kind of squishing down into some good feelings. And let's turn the table. Because what I want to do now is invite you to, again, scan the landscape of your life and notice those areas of dissatisfaction. Go to those places of discontent. Where are the places in your life where you might actually be feeling some frustration and maybe even some disappointment? I want you to look at your health, your relationships, how you share your gifts, your talents with your vocation, whether it's volunteered or paid, and your time and money freedom. And notice if there's any resistance. Yes, I am standing here on a unity stage saying, collectively, let's stare down those places that you're just not very happy with. Are y'all with me? Notice if there's any resistance to going there. That it's not what we come to Sunday service for, to necessarily have the minister take us into places that don't feel so good. Well, here's why I want you to do that. One of the things that I want you to help you understand today is that as you pay attention to those places of frustration, dissatisfaction, and discontent, that actually what you're doing is tapping into the voice of Spirit. That Spirit is continually calling us into a more expanded version of ourselves. That every single person in this room has reached a remarkable level of achievement. That you have done a remarkable job with your life, and you are not done. And the only way Spirit really has of inviting us into a greater experience of ourselves to discover just how much more powerful we are and to deepen our reliance on this invisible intelligence is by putting into our heart a level of discontent with what we were once satisfied with and a longing for something more. Are y'all with me? Can you see it in your mind? The thing about it is that as expansive beings, Spirit is always wanting us to discover more of who we are so we can then take this and put it in service to our world. And as you discover that and you make a decision to develop this next level of capability, this next level of spiritual awareness, and you systematically apply it to something very specific, things begin to show up in your life that seem miraculous, but in fact are just following a greater understanding of the law. And this, then, is how we bear witness to the power and the glory of the love that breathed us into existence. And as every single one of us chooses to follow that thread of discontent and longing to discover something more about ourselves and to bring that to bear in very real practical ways, what happens in Orlando now becomes non-existent. That we are not praying for something that happened like that in Orlando. We are celebrating the presence and the awareness of Spirit that is showing up in every one of us as you keep stepping into your greater magnificence. That's what we are up to today. Are y'all with me? Yeah. Oh, you're quiet. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Texas. It's one thing, I now live in Southern California, and I can expect it from people in Southern California, but not from Texas folks. Yes, thank you, Keva. So let me share my story to illustrate what this looks like in real time. And then we're going to get into some basics. And then this afternoon, we're going to get into a very specific methodology to help you take what you are beginning to imagine for yourself, bring it out of the imaginal realm into the physical facts of your life. So I, like many of you, found unity when I was in my early adulthood. I was in my early 20s when I found unity. I discovered the power of these principles. I began to apply them in my life. My life got radically better. How many people can relate that when you got into unity, your life got radically better? My husband and I built a terrific level of success for ourselves. And it was not enough. That there was something inside of me that wanted more. I wanted more impact. I wanted to be able to bring my gifts to the world in a much greater way. And I wanted a greater level of financial freedom in order to be able to contribute my finances in a much greater, freer way to the things that were deeply meaningful for me. I began to pour my energy into a work that really mattered to me. I applied everything I knew. I worked as hard as I could, got it up to a certain point, and it just got stuck. It just got stuck. Is there anybody in this room today that has had that experience when you've had something really, really important that no matter what you did, you just couldn't get it beyond a certain point? If you even let yourself consider something that was really important. I've got some hands going up in the back, and I've got, yes, thank you. Well, there was one day in particular, I was living in Tennessee. It was one of those hot, muggy July days, very similar to the weather that you have here in Texas. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I am stomping around my neighborhood, absolutely impervious to the heat. I was so frustrated, so disappointed, and really, quite frankly, feeling like a failure. Because I had spent 15 years pouring all of my energy into this work. I had just gotten done with what I thought was going to be a major initiative to really catapult this thing going forward, and it fell flat. It just fell flat. And I was right there on the edge of giving up. Now, I had thoughts running through my head. How many of you have thoughts running through your head when things don't work out particularly the way you want them to work out? Well, just notice to see if these were some of the thoughts that you have. My first thought was, I'm not cut out for this. I just don't have what it takes. If I haven't gotten this figured out in 15 years, what makes me think I'm going to get it figured out now? Thought number 2. Now, this one was really insidious. Thought number 2 was, maybe it's just my ego that wants more. Maybe I'm just wanting to fluff myself up and say, ooh, look what I've done. Maybe this is God's way of saying, just be happy with what you have. And then underneath that, when I got really quiet, there was a voice that said, maybe you just don't deserve this kind of good. Now, I don't know what your voices are, but here's what I do know. When you start thinking about something more expansively, there is a trigger that gets triggered, and those voices start talking, right? And again, I can see the head nod. Well, there was something that happened that day that it was a marker day for me. I can mark my life by that day. I have an invitation for you. What if today is a marker day for yourself? What if you discover something so profound and so enlivening for you, and you make a decision for it that you can literally mark the rest of your life by this day? What if you make a decision that today is your day for that? How many are willing to do that? That today is a marker day for you? All right, that's about 75% of the room. So the rest of you, I get it that you're taking it in and you're just going to see where this is going to go. That day, stomping around my neighborhood, there was a feeling of rebellion that just rose up from the bottom of my feet and said, no, those thoughts cannot be accurate. That I cannot have this kind of desire to truly want to bring my God-given gifts in such a way that really make a difference in the world, and to really generate a level of income that allows me to do a really good work in the world. I cannot have this if there is not a way to bring it into manifestation. So my decision that day was that I was going to get these laws that we talk about figured out to such a degree that they showed up in the results of my life, that I could tangibly see them to such a degree that other people would notice as well. And it's not because, again, look at me, but it's for every single one of us to understand that we are the demonstration of Spirit, and that as people see us successfully demonstrating spiritual law, they're going to want to know more about how to do that, and this is how we transform our planet. I made that decision that day, and what I also realized, which is a good thing for you, was that I needed help, that I had gone as far as I could on my own. And I needed something very systematic to unlock the power that I knew was here. I just didn't know how to apply it consistently to the level that I knew that was possible. So I started looking around, and I found somebody who was teaching it effectively and reflecting it in their life, and I made a decision to work with this woman at the closest, most personal, intimate level that she would allow for me. And I have been working with Mary Morrissey for the last 6 years, learning a very specific formula that, when understood and applied, really gives us the power to unlock our lives. Now, there's a whole story to the decision of saying yes to what it was that she offered, and lots of facts that said that this is not a logical thing to do. But the thing about your dream is going to demand that invitation that Spirit gives us through our discontent and our longing that knocks at the door of our heart. It demands that we do things that defy logic. It demands that we do things that defy logic. But as we do that, then we discover the unseen force around us, and we learn how to harness it and put it in service to our lives. So as I said yes, I got swooped up. I was put into a very structured system of support that I will be giving you a taste of this afternoon, creating a container where you really have the opportunity to go deep and start allowing yourself to dream in ways that maybe you've never allowed yourself to dream before. And I began to apply very specific steps that, again, have allowed me to transform not only my life, but the thousands of people that I've been honored to work with over the last several years. So rather than go into that too much right now, what I want to do is share some basics, and then we'll go deeper into the formula this afternoon. One of the things that I have learned, and I've heard this for decades, but learned at a level that just has incredible meaning for me now, is an awareness that we truly are powerful beings. Y'all, we contain the most potent energy in the entire universe, which is our capacity to create at will. That when we were dreamed up, God gave us the capacity to create anything that we desire. Think about that. And when you think about what that power is, what is that power? What is our creative capacity? It's our thinking capacity. What we predominantly think about, mentally rehearse, flash across the images that we flash across the movie screen of our mind, the way we see ourselves, and the feelings that we predominantly rehearse has a way that I don't understand, but quantum physics is figuring it out, has a way of literally impressing into what Wallace Wattles, the author of The Science of Getting Rich, into this invisible substance. That invisible substance then takes that command. We were given dominion. We were given dominion over our world. And as we impress, and by the way, we are always impressing because we are always thinking. We cannot turn that capacity off. And so we are always impressing, and as we impress these images into this invisible substance, it must then organize itself according to the pattern that we give it, and it is then reflected in the results of our life. It is basic unity 101. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Imagine if we really got this. Imagine if we really understood the power that we wield, how reverently we would treat this. Emerson said to stand guard at the portal of our mind. That is not just a warm and fuzzy statement. It is a dictate. It's a dictate. Because whatever we are mentally rehearsing must then coalesce in some way, shape, or form in a pattern in our outside world of facts. Here's the other thing. If we really got this, then we would become very intentional with this, correct? And we would understand that the most potent, powerful, reverent question that we can learn to live by is this. What would I love? What would I love? What would I love to do? What would I love to be? What would I love to have? And most importantly, what would I love to give? Understanding that it is love itself, seeking very real, practical, tangible expression by means of our answer to that question. So right now, I just invite you, when you think about your life, go back to when I invited you to look at what your discontent was, look at what your longings were, let that inform the answer to your question in very real detail, not conceptual. This afternoon, I'm going to talk about the power of the detail as opposed to a conceptual of wanting more love and more peace, that you want very specific details. So when you think about your life, and we're going to go 3 years out, not because we're creating a strategic plan, but because there's a part of you that has an opinion about what it thinks you can accomplish in a year. It's not so sure about 3. What's the conversation that you would love to be having about your life 3 years from now? Around your health, around your relationships, how you're sharing your gifts, your talents, your capabilities, and what's happening on your calendar. When you look at your calendar, what is a life-giving calendar filled with the kind of activities that absolutely light you up, with a rhythm that supports you in a life-giving way, and what's happening in the area of your finances where you are able to make decisions based on what you love rather than based on what you think you can do or what's coming in or what the habit has been up until now. Is everybody starting to get images? Is everybody starting to get images? Now, notice, if you're with me and you're doing this, notice that there's a phenomenon that's getting triggered. This is what makes this such a powerful tool for transformation. If you're doing this seriously, if you're really taking this seriously in a fun way, there's some things that are being triggered. One of them is probably you're feeling a little bit of excitement, right? If you're really letting yourself dream big and bold, you're starting to feel a little bit of excitement. Well, here's the deal with excitement. Excitement suggests that it's not normal. And so when you start dreaming big and you get that kind of breathlessness, that's Spirit's invitation for you to lean in even deeper in order to begin to normalize that experience in your life where it is now predictable. Because right now, that new experience is not predictable for you. What happens when we start thinking bigger and bolder is that we have been highly trained to go out and consult the information that the 5 senses gives us. And so again, if you're really letting yourself dream big and bold, right now you're probably gathering data to determine whether or not this is a realistic thing to do. You're looking at your schedule, you're looking at your checkbook, you're looking at what you've done in the past. You're looking at possibly the opinions of others. And chances are, because this is bigger and bolder than anything you've ever experienced for yourself before, the outside facts are not going to support it. What makes this so powerful is that as you make a decision for the images that you are now formulating in your mind, you must be willing to act before the facts back you up. And the facts are not going to get informed right away. So it's not just 1 act, it's not just 2 acts, it's persistently and consistently being so in love with this image and building a relationship with the person living the dream. Because a key piece of this work is to grow you into that person that's a match for that dream, which you're not right now, and I'm not a match for my dream. How do I know my results are not reflecting it? To act from that state of awareness, think about what does that person think? How does that person walk into a grocery store? What are the actions that that person takes right now that are different than the person who created these results acted? Are y'all following me with this? As you learn that very particular methodology and you become willing to defy the facts, what happens is now you're developing a deeper relationship with this invisible intelligence that's always here, waiting for us to access and rely on it, but we don't need it when we're hanging out at our current results. Right? I mean, we say we need God, and we need God in a pinch, but when we make a decision for something bigger and bolder, we really need God then. Can y'all see this? It's kind of fun the way God set the whole system up. It's like, get to know me better, rely on me more by going for what it is that you would really love. That's a whole lot more fun than learning to rely on God when things aren't going so well. Here's a second phenomenon that gets triggered, what makes this such a powerful experience. You have a habit for how much good you allow into your life. I just saw a mighty nod right there. Napoleon Hill calls it a cosmic habit force. When you begin to think about going beyond whatever your current experience is, there is something so deep inside of you that gets triggered and will start fighting for everything you're worth to keep you right where you are. This is why so many people do the bounce. I call it the bounce. That's what was happening with me, that I did not understand this phenomenon. But as I have learned to come to know the energetic pattern of what it's like to live my dream and support other people with it, and to begin to ask the question, if I really believed this was possible, how would I feel right now? What would I be thinking? And what's the action step that I would be taking that once again defies what my facts say? You literally open yourself up and allow an even greater degree of good to flow through your system, and you learn to sustain that level of success. So then you're able to grow and go on even more. You can see where you've done these in other areas of your life, but now it's to make a commitment that this now becomes the model on which you build your life. Because as you do this, as you say yes to that more expanded version of you, as you say yes to that more expanded version of your life, you are developing skills, capabilities, building a deeper reliance on this invisible intelligence. You are turning into an even more magnificent reflection of who we are created to be in a very real, tangible, practical way. And this is how we change the face of our planet. So personally, my life, as I have learned and applied this, particularly over the last 6 years, I was impacting 60, 70 people weekly, annually. I now have the joy of being able to impact thousands of people literally around the world. It is such an honor to be able to bring this work literally to the different corners of the world. I look at my income, and the reason why I talk about income is because it's so measurable. It's so measurable. When I look at my income, I grew my income from mid-5 figures to mid-6 figures, a 900% increase within 4 years. It's the establishment of a new pattern. There are lots of you in here that was a drop in the bucket. It's not about the money, it's about the pattern. So when you think about a 900% increase for your life, what does it look like? What does a 900% improvement look like? And most importantly, it's coming to an awareness of a deep level of faith and trust of how these laws work. And so you're able to keep saying yes to greater and greater versions of yourself personally and this group as a community. All right, so I got to wrap it up. I'm seeing James get a little anxious down there. So let me wrap it up. So, homework. This morning I gave a challenge to the group to come to the workshop this afternoon, that I invited people to change your plans. The great thing about being an adult is that even though you think you've got plans, you really can change your plans. And there are several people that have already made the decision to do that. So come this afternoon. Come to understand how powerful you are, that your discontent is truly God's gift to you. Pay attention to it. Lean into it deeply. Let it inform the answer to your question, what would you love? Make a decision to follow that in a very real, tangible, practical way. Take ongoing, consistent action in the face of facts that are not supporting you. Get support. You all have a remarkable community. Come engage with what's being offered here and celebrate along the way. Because as we notice what's happening, as we move up the scale of awareness, we see the evidence of God at work in our life. And again, truly, this is the way that we bear witness to the power that is in every single being on this planet. And this is how we create the kingdom of heaven here on earth. Orlando is a dim memory because you all are standing in the truth of what's possible, and you are bearing witness to it with your life. God bless everybody. See you this afternoon.